Women are not cold or too much or difficult if they just quite clearly say, this is what I would love and this is what would make me feel safe. Think about it. If you being assertive with your partner results in them just ignoring you or walking away or avoiding the topic, I want you to know that that is such a shame for them, because there's nothing more empowering than being with an empowered woman. And if they're not going to allow you to be assertive, they're not going to get close to you. They're not going to really know the real you. And likelihood is you're not going to stand that for very long, are you? Why would you want to be with someone who doesn't allow you to communicate your needs? You shouldn't have to strain yourself and drain yourself of all your precious energy to make your needs clear. It shouldn't have to be please and this and that. Can I just say, to be close to an empowered woman, to be in a relationship with an empowered woman is such a privilege. It's such a pleasure. Empowered women love the best. And as soon as your partner or this guy realizes that, the better. He shouldn't let his intimidation of your greatness make him bitter. He should use that as motivation to get better. If he's an adult man, he's now in a position where he can unlearn things and he can challenge himself. If he chooses not to do that, then he chooses to not be with an empowered woman. I'm going to be talking mainly about kind of the dynamics that happen between men and women when they're dating. But anyone who's anyone can get something from this video. I just want you to feel validated and seen, because my God, can our connections to other humans make us feel so unseen, so invisible, so invalidated. I think particularly if we're women dating men, quite often our feelings, our stories can get lost in translation, can not be empathized with. So in this video, I'm gonna call your attention to some things that might be happening that shouldn't happen. So I'm gonna assume that maybe you're dating a guy, maybe you've got a boyfriend. What I don't want you to do is let him stop you from being assertive, from clearly communicating your needs. I really value quality time, so therefore I'd quite like to maybe schedule in a walk together where we have a nice chat, or something once a week where we really get to meet and talk and see each other. Maybe that's something that you've recently said to your partner, this is what I need. And you've said it very assertively and clearly. Assertive doesn't mean aggressive. Assertive means clear. It means direct, not dancing around the topic. And I think as women, it's very easy to lean into hiding the full truth of something because we're taught to minimize our problems and be a little more discreet and quiet and smiley and soft. You should be able to communicate with him directly without having to soften your voice or smile or say, I really, really wish that maybe we could do this a little bit more. I realize that we use our words to try and control other people's reactions, to try and lessen the likelihood that somebody is going to get annoyed, but that only limits us and makes us feel disempowered. You shouldn't have to soften your request to dim down the importance of what you're saying in order to avoid a bad emotional reaction from your partner. Your job as a partner is to communicate clearly what you're feeling and what your needs are. Because when you do that, you allow your partner to get closer to you, to forge a more deep and honest and authentic connection with you. That is a beautiful thing to do. To be assertive is to give the relationship a chance, a real chance of being healthy, of being deep and meaningful, of having a chance to last a long time or maybe even forever. You're doing a beautiful thing when you're being assertive. You really are. If you soften your request, if you make your needs a little bit less obvious in order to kind of make him react better, then you're later down the line going to worry, oh, was I clear enough? He's doing these things that are hurting me and I thought I spoke to him about it, but maybe I wasn't clear enough then. If you avoid being as clear as you can be in order to avoid making your partner uncomfortable, you're only later down the line going to wonder, oh, was I clear enough? So avoid that confusion, that, oh, maybe I could have done better by just being assertive now. However your partner reacts to you coming from a place of love and wanting to better your connection and a place of honesty, Whatever their reaction is, that's a them problem, not a you problem. That is something I'm going to say a lot in this video, because I do think a lot of the time in relationships, we're holding up mirrors to our partners and showing them their inner demons, their insecurities, their problems. When you're assertive, you really are giving the relationship a chance to be something really powerful and special. And somebody can choose to take offense and not listen to what you're saying and get angry and frustrated and be like, don't tell me what to do. They can choose to not see it as a chance to get closer, but actually as a chance to fight and point fingers and turn away and walk away and ignore you. And if that does happen and you start to worry, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't have been assertive, maybe I could have said it a bit softer, a bit smilier, a bit kinder, I want you to remind yourself that you came from a place of vulnerability, of love. You didn't come from a place of trying to attack. You actually came from a place of trying to connect. You're trying to create more understanding in the relationship, and that is beautiful. And that's scary. It takes guts to do that, and I'm so proud of you for being assertive, for being clear with what you want. Because my goodness, is it hard to get to that place as a woman? I think your whole life you're kind of taught to do the opposite, to hide what you really want from friends and your partners and your loved ones. That's definitely why I see all the time on Instagram these reels of guys complaining about how they have to ask their girlfriend like 7 times, is something wrong, until they actually turn around and say yes. We're not taught to communicate what we want. I am generally speaking, you might have had parents that taught you to be assertive, but generally speaking as women, we're not taught to advocate for ourselves, to advocate for what's best for us. We're taught to coddle others, to think of others before ourselves. We're taught to minimize our problems and be small and polite and smiley and not in the way. I really want to make this clear to you. If you are a woman that is assertive, you either had a mother who was really good at empowering you to be assertive from a young age, or you did the work to be in this place. You read books, you did therapy, you learned how to become an assertive woman. And wow, I take my hat off to you. Because it takes so much effort and work and bravery to get to a point where you can just honestly and clearly turn to your partner and say, hey, I'd quite like words of affirmation. That would make me feel closer to you. It takes a lot to look someone in the eye and just show them what's what. Now, I know it can be so easy to go back into your old ways and not be assertive if your partner, your boyfriend, whoever, if they don't meet your assertiveness with understanding and motivation to move forward. I understand that it can be really easy to listen to that and go, okay, next time I'll communicate a little bit softer and a little bit less honestly, and I'll look down and I'll smile and I'll do everything I can to just be a little bit less intimidating. I really don't want you to do that, because you've come a long way and you deserve to just communicate freely without having to kind of alter yourself. You're not a politician. If there's someone in this world that we need to be able to talk to frankly, it's our partner. Because if we have to dance around the truth with them, we're going to be chronically anxious and knackered. If we're constantly having to adjust our messaging so they don't get offended, we're going to be exhausted. I want you to continue communicating openly and honestly. I know we're kind of taught to do the opposite, to shut up, but I don't want you to shut up. I want you to speak up. If anything, your partner should be encouraging you to do that, especially if you're a woman, because likelihood is, as I said earlier, you've been socialized to silence yourself. You've been taught to not take your emotions seriously and your problems seriously. Your partner should bring out the best in you. Your partner should want you to grow. And a big part of my journey as a woman, of becoming more empowered and healing, is going from a place of passive communication to assertive communication. Assertive communication takes a lot less effort. It doesn't completely drain you and leave you feeling depleted and anxious and lonely. It actually leaves you feeling in a place of power. If your partner time and time again discourages you from being assertive, he doesn't deserve you, my lovely. He really doesn't. I know you've done so much work to heal, and you don't deserve to go back into that place where you're not advocating for yourself, because it's so painful to exist there. And I think it's so important to be like, actually, if this person isn't going to let me be assertive and grow and be the best version of myself, maybe I should let them go. Women are not cold or too much or difficult if they just quite clearly say, this is what I would love and this is what would make me feel safe. Think about it. If you being assertive with your partner results in them just ignoring you or walking away or avoiding the topic, I want you to know that that is such a shame for them, because there is nothing more empowering than being able to be frank with your partner. There's nothing more empowering than being with an empowered woman. And if they're not going to allow you to be assertive, they're not going to get close to you. They're not going to really know the real you. And likelihood is you're not going to stand that for very long, are you? Why would you want to be with someone who doesn't allow you to communicate your needs? You shouldn't have to strain yourself and drain yourself of all your precious energy to make your needs clear. It shouldn't have to be please and this and that. Can I just say, to be close to an empowered woman, to be in a relationship with an empowered woman is such a privilege. It's such a pleasure. Empowered women love the best. And as soon as your partner or this guy realizes that, the better. He shouldn't let his intimidation of your greatness make him bitter. He should use that as motivation to get better, to do therapy, to read books, to talk to friends in an open and vulnerable and honest way. And I know I'm not one to comment on that because I don't know what it's like to be a man in this patriarchal world where men are taught to bottle up their emotions and to be the strong one, aka don't talk about your feelings and punch walls. I recognise that it's very complicated, but if he's an adult man, he's now in a position where he can unlearn things and he can challenge himself. If he chooses not to do that, then he chooses to not be with an empowered woman. Another thing that actually really boils my blood, but let's just do some deep breaths. He should not shame you for showing emotion or being emotional. If you've been met with, don't cry, I don't get why you're being like this, it's not a big deal. If you're met with eye rolls and someone walking away when you're showing that you're in pain and you're distressed and you feel alone, that is so unfair. Your ability to be emotional probably makes him uncomfortable because he is not able to hold tender space for his emotions. Men aren't taught to embrace their vulnerability, their more negative and vulnerable emotions. They're taught to pretend they don't exist. So he might be treating you the way that he treats himself, or the way that maybe his father treated him, or his brother, or the guys in his life treated him. And that's not an excuse. He's an adult man. He can now unlearn the message that he needs to bottle up his feelings and that feelings are bad, and to be a strong man, you just power through and you do, not feel. He can unlearn that, and he should know better than to pass on his emotional insecurity onto you. But I just want to make it really clear to you that it's not your emotions and your sensitivity and your ability to be vulnerable that's the problem. It's how that being apparent makes him feel. That's the problem for him. But it's not a problem for you. It's actually a real strength. I do think it's quite ironic that one of the strongest things you could do for yourself is be vulnerable and honest with how you feel. And women generally, I think, are better at doing that than men. And it's funny that women generally are perceived as being weaker. Your ability to tell your partner, I don't feel particularly sexy today and I feel quite insecure. I'd love some positive affirmations for you to say that I look good and to maybe compliment me more. Your ability to do that is so beautiful and powerful. Please don't let him silence you. You really deserve to be loved fully, especially when you are providing all the means to do that. If you're being open and honest and communicative, there is such a big opportunity for such a beautiful love. And it's great that you are providing that opportunity, that space for growing closer together. It's just sad when that offer is not accepted, when your partner doesn't look at you in the eyes and go, okay, I could really work on that. And I love you and I see you and I can understand why you feel like that. I'm generalizing, but a lot of the time we're met with frustration and lack of connection, physical connection, lack of eye contact, lack of kind body language. Sometimes your partner doesn't even really need to say anything. His body is saying it all. Maybe your partner's always facing away from you when you're communicating vulnerably. That can be really hurtful. I really want you to just hold space for yourself and give yourself a quick cuddle now and say, I see you and I hear you. And Alessia sees you and hears you. I do. I'm sending you so much love. It can be so upsetting and draining explaining to your partner in so much depth and taking so much time and energy and effort to explain why something hurt you to only be met with, okay. And maybe them repeating the same hurtful behaviour that left you feeling this way. I think as women, we over-explain how we feel when we're met with not particularly much understanding or recognition or validation. So I really want to encourage you to be assertive and be clear and be vulnerable when it feels right. When it feels right in your body, when you're thinking, oh yeah, this feels good to tell him this. But as soon as it starts to feel draining and disempowering and you start to feel panicky, trust that you've said enough, that you've communicated clearly, and now enough is enough. When you start to feel super drained, explaining why you're hurt by what your partner's done, that is your body saying, you're overdoing it again. Women's experiences aren't talked about as much as men's experiences, in films, in music, in politics even, everywhere. The male perspective takes priority. And I think this really does mean that as women, we generally just feel so misunderstood. I really understand you over-explaining yourself and you really going to great detail and length to explain why you feel a certain way. But I really want to encourage you to communicate clearly and to give the detail when it feels right, but to also stop when you start to feel yourself, feel exhausted, feel disconnected from the person you're trying to communicate to. If they're not showing you that they're listening, it's not your job to continue talking at them and try and get them interested and try and get them to care. All you can do is tell your story to somebody who will listen. And sometimes less is more. Sometimes we might find ourselves repeating the same things and over-explaining because our partner hasn't found the motivation to do the things we've maybe encouraged them to do or asked them to do. But that's not a reflection of us not communicating the problem. It's a reflection of them not taking the problem seriously. Or maybe they know exactly what they could do, but they don't want to do the work. It's a reflection of them resisting change, resisting growth, resisting vulnerability, resisting true, authentic connection. Please try and reserve your energy for people that are willing to listen and motivated to change and grow and evolve with you. Please don't sit on the sofa with your boyfriend and say, oh, but this happened in my childhood and that's why this is so sensitive, and this happened with my friends, and if you don't get that, then think about it in this way. Don't drain yourself. If their walls are up and they're only thinking about their own perspective and their own feelings and their own desires, they're not going to hear you no matter how well you explain things or how much you repeat things. And do you know what? I feel sorry for the person that is choosing to be stagnant and not listen to you and not be empathetic, because they're not going to get close to you. They're not going to get the gift of having a deep love with you. You really deserve someone that's going to listen to you and that's going to respond to your well-meaning vulnerability with tenderness and accountability. I really, really just want to put the love out there right now to you. I want you to feel it in your body as I say this. Feel your body get warmer. You deserve to advocate for yourself. You deserve people to listen to you properly. You deserve tenderness and kindness and empathy. And you deserve to be in a relationship with somebody who's going to put as much effort into the relationship as you are, into self-reflecting as you are. I realise I don't know you, the person who's watching this video. You might, in fact, you probably do have some things that you could work on. We all do. None of us are perfect, and all of us bring our own insecurities and fears from past experiences into current situations, and there's always stuff that we can do better and grow from. But I'm acknowledging that you're watching this video, so you are self-reflecting and you are trying, and I take my hat off to you again. I think I already said that earlier on, but I do take my hat off to you for trying and for self-reflecting. That takes lack of ego, detaching from the ego. That takes really wanting to be the best version of yourself. And yeah, I see that, and I think that's really beautiful, and it reflects strong character. And I really hope that the person that has led you to watching this video does start to empathize with you, does start to listen to you more, does see you as the loving person that's reaching out for more and wanting more connection. I hope they see the good place that you're coming from. And if they don't, you do not need to entertain them. You do not need to put your energy into them. I really hope that you feel validated or comforted or seen off the back of watching this video, or maybe your partner sent you this video and it's made you think about their perspective more. Whatever you take from this video, that's yours to keep. I'm sending so much love to any of you watching this video, and I really quickly want to say I have a program that is designed for women. I'm going to leave my email in the description box so you can contact me and ask about that. And if you want to connect with me and receive resources, the program's kind of geared towards making women feel closer to themselves, more trusting in their voice, leaning less on external validation and more on self-validation, on decentering men and recentering themselves. So if you want to find out more, pop me an email. I love you lots.